CRC LA Fitness Day, where you go in and do pump work, right? Because I know a lot of you guys do a CRC or something. All right, you're going to go in there and do pump work. Here's your Citadel day. Here's either a Citadel day or maybe something you can get away with over at the CRC. So now you have all three different components, because like you all, maybe you don't always can go to Citadel Nutrition and use a bar, but when you do go to Citadel Nutrition, maybe you don't have machines. So this allows variety within your week, but it still has a linear component, because you'll see 80, 85, 90, 95. So it's still moved down in a continuum linearly, but it undulates within the week time. And this is, so basically, like if you were to look through a linear wave with undulating, you'd have a strength day, a power day, a rep day. A strength day, a power day, and a rep day. And this allows, so in each week you have all three attributes, right? So if I was to, so mostly, a lot of coaches do a 3-day split, especially here at Tech, because our indoor, you can't train at the indoor then walk over to the weight room, because it's about a half mile, right? So most coaches do a 3-day split, and the 3-day split is good because you can do total body and needs assessment, especially for athletes. Your body works in an integrated unit, so just working just your pecs or just your upper body may not be necessary, and you maybe only have 3 days to train, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday or Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, Saturday, whatever. But it allows for more recovery. And I know it's kind of, it's a bit of a, it's the same thing. You know, the glass isn't half full, the glass isn't half empty. It's the same amount of water. Some people say you're not overtrained, you're under recovered. It's really the same thing. So if you need more recovery, and go to a 3-day split. Like I said, your body functions as an integrated unit. And now the only problem is, let's say if you're doing some pressing work and you need more volume, you may not be able to get it all in. And intensity, let's say you're training heavy and you need warm-up sets, it may take more time in the training just to get to that higher intensity, that higher number. But here's how you would basically set up, say, a lower emphasis and upper emphasis, your bilateral lower, so your squat, your upper push bench or a dumbbell bench, your posterior chain, so your glute ham raise, unilateral lower, your rear foot elevated squat or walking lunge, and then like a bent over row. And then all it does, if you're upper emphasis, that way, that day you're benching, that way, okay, you're gonna do a leg press if you wanna change around your movement. So there's an easy 3-day split. And if you wanna set it up for powerlifting, say you went to a 4-day split and you did upper lower, if you did a 3-day split, let's say you went Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so Monday's bench, Wednesday's deadlift, Friday squat, you could still set it up in the 3-day way. You just wouldn't, you may not do so when you choose a lower body on a bench day, you may just do something really easy. Right? 4-day split. So here you go power movement, like so you do your medicine ball throws, then you go, here I wrote it down. All right, so you do your box jump, you go to your squat, then you're gonna do your primary assistance work or your special exercise. So you box jump, you squat, you have problems with speed out of the hole, so you're gonna do a pole squat or maybe a chain squat, then you're gonna do your rep work or your assistance work. You have weak hamstrings, all right, so you can do your glute ham, you wanna work some unilateral deficiencies, so you're gonna do a rear foot elevated squat. All right. Let's say this young man that was asking about doing a push jerk, you're really good at power, all right, so instead of doing a medicine ball throw, you're gonna push jerk that day, then you're gonna move your bench, then you can do your primary assistance because you have lockout issues. Like I said earlier, don't just, now if you wanna just board bench that day, by all means, right, just make sure you do this at some point in time. Your board bench, and there's your assistance work for your back, your bent over rows, and then there's your other assistance work for your triceps. So there's a basic 4-day split if you wanted to do that. Now, obviously, you can cut out some of the power movements if all you need at this time is just to work your strength movements, especially if you're limited on time or you really just need to get better at your strength movement. All right, so when do you deload? Usually if you feel like you need a break, whether it's a day or two, take it. Plan it ahead of time. Try not to wait till you feel like you're about to crash. But if you do feel like it's coming on, be honest with yourself, and that's where it comes back to your RPEs, comes back to your auto regulation. Read your warning signs. You're not sleeping enough, you haven't been eating enough, you're grouchier, and I don't know if anybody does a CNS tap test, or sometimes we do the HRV, the heart variability training. It'll assess your state of readiness. There's a bunch of different things that you can use, a mega wave, even though a lot of it's really expensive. I know there's a lot of apps that will do this, but just be honest with yourself and have, you can tell when someone comes in and they're training and they just look down, they're probably at a point where they may need to take a day or two off. And then when you do take a day or two off, don't just say, oh, I'm gonna jump right back in and start back up where I finished. and jump right back in the deep end. Just pull back a little bit and take a holistic approach to training. If whether you do ice, you do heat, you need to go watch a movie, you need to stretch, you do massages, you go to chiropractor, whatever it is to try to allow for greater recovery through all these. So you have good stress and bad stress. Sometimes stress is good for you. You need to be pushed, right? And always look at your training parameters. Is your exercise selection too great? Is your volume too much or too little? Is your intensity too high? Are you going too many days or not enough days, right? So and this all helps with whether you need a deload with your programming. Sometimes, usually with me, I know what's coming on, so I'll kind of start to pull back. This comes more with experience, right? Any questions up to this point? All right, so what does your plan need to be? Usually what I do is, for my own personal plans, what I do is I take my Excel formula, or my Excel, and I got it dated back for 3-4 years now. I've been doing it, and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna write it, I got 6 weeks, and I write out my days. I don't like lifting on Sunday, so I put an X in that Sunday column. And so I have Monday through Sunday, written out at the top. And then I say, okay, for the next 3 weeks, this is my general plan. I'm gonna squat this day, I'm gonna bench this day, I'm gonna deadlift this day, I'm gonna do LA fitness stuff this day, right? And so I just broad stroke my plan. And then what I do, then I have a notebook with me, and then so as my training plan, I say, all right, I'm gonna bench this day, then I know that I'm working to sets of 5, what did I finish at today, and I make any notes with my assistant's work. And so then you just start to fill in the details. I keep records all the time, right? I do a lot of this, but a lot of this, like I said, for me, when I do it, I still only follow 3 weeks, because after 3 weeks, I need to reassess a lot of what I'm doing, because of the schedule and how I feel. But this is basically just how I do it a lot now, and that's where I use my notebook, I use my Excel, and then you go back and you figure out what are your goals, what are your principles, what are you really trying to accomplish, and then, so let's say you're going to use a program. There's a lot, like you have your 5-through-1, your sheet code program, your juggernaut, there's so many out there. And if you want to talk about any of these individual or whatever, just ask me. I know a lot about most of them because I've either done them or just at least read about them. Or I know Tier System, that's actually what the Carolina Panthers use, because that's who wrote the book, Joe Ken. That's your Mark Ribiteau, Chad Wesley Smith. So he uses a lot of, both of these use actually training maxes. I think the sheet code program does too. So just figure out how you want to keep your plan. Don't just walk in and sit it down like, all right, 2 scoops of Tier 1, turn it up, what am I going to do today? Just figure out, just have some kind of idea what you're going to do, right? So in closing, learn the science. It is a science and art though, so no kind of, look, you need to read the books and some of this, I mean, if you want to snort a couple lines of crystal meth to make it through this one, you can, but if you want to a really easy book, just read books, just read ebooks, get on the YouTubes. I mean, when I grew up, I didn't surf the web until I was in graduate school. I didn't have any social media growing up, none of that. And it was good, because all I did was lift, and I just figured it out for myself. But now you got so many different resources, but almost you have too many resources, because then, oh, this program's good, that program's good. Don't program hop everything, because all science is still an art. It's still your artistic expression of how you're going to do things. And nothing, you get sweat on your brow, chalk on your hands. That's where you really learn, when you're under the bar. When you're in there and you're doing 5 reps and you're at 4, you're like, I don't know if I can do 1. No, you got to do 1. You got to do 1. That's when you really learn about that. All the book stuff, you throw that out at that point. You know you got to do 1 more. You're standing in front of the crowd. You know you got to pull this PR. So that's when you really learn more about yourself when you actually lift. And be consistent with your lifting. Don't just program hop and say, nah, I didn't really like it, and go through it. And you're going to fail. Trust me. There's failure there, but you're going to have a lot of accomplishment, whether it's 1 more rep, 5 more pounds. Enjoy it while you can, because it's not fun. It really ain't worth it, because a lot of people don't want to go through this. And this is the joke around the office. Like people come and say, Zach, what are you going to do today? You going to work out? And I was like, no, I don't work out. I train. And it's like, I know it's not a BS answer, but even when I go to LA Fitness, I still feel like I'm training. So just know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and have fun doing it, right? Because it really isn't worth it if you don't enjoy it. Because you're going to go through a lot of those times where you're having to eat something that you don't really want to eat, or you're having to do things, you're having to study, and you want to train. So just enjoy what you're doing, because it is, just to see all these people in the room. I never had any of this when I came up. It was nothing like this. It was a bunch of meatheads trying to just figure it out, and to see a lot of people in here, it's a really good thing, and I appreciate you guys having me come and do it. And if you ever want to contact me, you can. I'm right up the road if you ever want to stop by and talk, or even you want this PowerPoint, just send me an email. I put a lot of dumb stuff on Instagram. If you want to check it out. I know social media is the big thing now, so I think right now would be good for any kind of Q&A. I know if you want to talk anything, please. If I don't know it, and there's a lot of things I don't know, just I'll tell you I don't know it. I'm fairly transparent. All right, if you want to ask to talk about comic books, all right, we'll talk about, all right, if Dark Side really comes out in Batman vs. Superman, all right, we'll figure it out real quick, all right, I don't know. Yes, ma'am, let's make it serious here, though.
It seems like in your PowerPoint there wasn't anything with sets of reps more than 10 or 12. What about 15 or 20 reps?
Okay, in general, so we start to move, so your temporal-based, time-based training. A lot of West Side will do that too. Let's say I'm going to time you for 30 seconds and you're going to do as many repetitions in the bench as possible. If you do higher repetition stuff, personally do stuff that's easier to fail on. So if you have a squat and you're doing 15, 20, and a lot of people do it, that's fine. I'm not saying it's not, I don't like to speak in absolutes. That's why I think CrossFit uses the front squat, because it's easier to dump the bar at higher reps. So if you want to do stuff that's time-based, use it for assistance work. In my opinion, use it more for assistance work or things that you can easily fail on, like a leg press, where it's easier to rack. If you do something that's higher rep based, which is more endurance, so more than 15, maybe more endurance, and if you fail on it with structural, because there's a high level structural adaptation, a high level technical proficiency, you're doing a lot of moving parts with your squat, right? I would be careful of that. Do something where you can probably fail on, or there's not a lot of technical proficiency on it like a squat, but you can still do a squat. The other thing is, the higher repetition you go, the more metabolic requirement that movement has, right? So it's conditioning at that point. So when I do a set of one, there's not a lot of conditioning. So you have your energy systems, the phosphagen system, the glycolytic system, and the aerobic system. The phosphagen system is really quick, 1 to 3 reps, nothing, you don't even use air really. Then you get in that glycolytic system, that's where you feel more of the lactic acid starts to burn. Then you have your oxidative system where you can actually breathe. So if you're starting to do this movement and the metabolic requirement, it starts to be something where you're starting to fail because you're tax on your energy system, that's something different too. If you want to work reps, you can, but at the end of the day, it's about what you do with your 1RM. So you have to see how far away from your 1RM and your repetitions do you really need to have in order to be successful at one. But if you have an issue with work capacity and you want to condition, then that's where maybe a prowler or some sled walks or other conditioning, especially stuff that's high intensity based, may be more beneficial. But repetition-based stuff is good for you, especially for something what we call mental toughness, whether you really, some people say you can't build mental toughness, you can only expose it. So it might say, okay, are you grind, do you quit? That's why I like the prowler, because prowler is very easy to learn, and it's like you either push it from here to there or you don't. And it's a very low motor pattern. So when you get the prowler flu and the dude's all up in the fetal position in the corner, he's like, he got the prowler flu, he's going to pass out here. It's easy to do, right? But that's where high rep sets can challenge you mentally and physically. My only thing is, if you're benching and you're doing 30 reps, and all of a sudden you fail, is the cost worth the risk, right? Did that answer your question? Yeah. But rep stuff is beneficial, yeah, it is. It's just how do you want to use it? Yeah. We'll go here then.
Right, so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how to approach peaking for competition. So how to trade off between training intensity and fatigue management.
All right, so fatigue management, like I said, is part of your ability to recover. So make sure all your ducks in a row with your diet, your nutrition, your sleep. As you get closer, I don't know if you've ever seen bigger, some movie, it was Arnold with a pumping iron, and he didn't even go see his dad's funeral because he didn't want to, and that's extreme cases now, because he didn't want anything to be involved in his life. So make sure that you reduce, as you get closer to competition, as many of your stressors in your own personal life as possible that you can, right? You can't control when the teacher says you got a final. So what you want to do is you want to manage as many of your stressors in your life. As you get closer to competition, like when I do next month, I want to make sure, okay, I got all my ducks in a row, I've paid my bills, I've done this and that. So that's one thing. That's part of the stuff that we try to handle. But then, as you get closer, and even with your linear program, you start to remove some of your assistance work or some of the things that you don't need, and you start to only focus on the actual main movement, your bench squat, your deadlift. Because then, how important is your work capacity when you're a week or two out? And it depends on what type of training. Like some people are really good just working sets of 5 and don't ever really have to hit singles in order to feel it. But to be honest, without ever having truly done a powerlifting meet and only doing strongman competitions these few years, I know how to prepare for that. Is basically I go forward, I do what I do with the weight. I move forward and I pull back, and I usually take the week off before. Yeah, but like for me, what happens, like, so that week before, I'll do something Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday and Thursday, Friday, I'm really active with my job, but I try not to lift. Like some people, it all depends on how you feel, so don't try to feel like just because you feel good and it's Wednesday, Thursday, don't try to take your openers to right before the competition or something like that. But when you walk into a competition, you should feel like, all right, your openers are something, what, 80, 85%, something that you can feel like you can get on a board. Then you go for something where 90, 95, maybe 97%, and then something whether then if you're going to go for a PR or just hit something that you, so 100% to 105, 110, right? So going into the competition, you kind of know what you can do and feel comfortable with. Yeah. But peaking is really the toughest thing, especially with 3 lifts going in. You may just have been focusing on one more than the other. But like I said, reverse engineer your programming and work backwards from there. That help a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do it? You tell?
Badly.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: what did you do, and what did you feel like you did wrong?
Well,
Show your numbers first.
let's not get into that.
So what do you feel like you did wrong?
Well, usually I feel that I just come into meets completely exhausted and beat up.
The worst thing to do going in meet is, I feel like you're dragging into it for sure. Yeah, so basically that might also be something to do with like I said, your recovery. You're training too much, you're not reducing stressors, whether it be foam rolling, stressing, massage, ice. And part of it may just be the mental part of it, where just relaxing and learning how to just go with it a little bit. And a lot of coaches say, you don't flip a switch. You don't flip a switch. I don't think that's true. I think you flip a switch. Like one hand's loose, one hand's clenched, right? And that's why you talk about your autonomic nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system has your parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, and has your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. This is a basic thing. This is where I'm going to get killed by an animal, or I'm going to run away from the animal. This is where I'm going to go into my cave and sleep and draw in the cave, right? Draw the drawings. So basically you have your fight or flight, your sympathetic nervous system. So basically you have to be as much as possible in your parasympathetic dominance. So you have to have the ability, as all of you, to recover, to relax, to chill, all right? But you also have that ability that it's fight or flight. When you walk up under that squat bar, it's like you're saying red in a way, but it's a controlled red fury to where when you get up under the bar, it's go time. So whatever it is, if it's nose torque, if it's music, if it's a prayer, if it's a saying, it's thinking about a pivotal moment in your life, or but part of it too is when you walk up under that bar and you feel it, you should have trained enough to where it almost feels like, and that's why a good opener gets your feet, just makes you feel comfortable. You get that opener, something just to make yourself just relax too. And part of it too, just learn how to enjoy it. Yeah, learn how to enjoy it. And I still I remember one competition I did, so it's outside and the computer broke down, or the printer broke down, so I was stupid. I drank a little bit of pre-workout, and so I was all geared up. I was ready to go. We were doing a log clean and press, and so I did it. And then the freaking printer broke down, and so I sat there for an hour, just like I was about to just blow my lid, right? And I went out there, and I got wobbly. I was unstable, and I'd done the weight 1,000 times, and I could barely. This kind of felt disconnected, right? It was a terrible feeling. So I said, from then on, I said, only take just a little bit to none pre-workout, because your state of arousal is going to be so high that you don't need to have this artificial state of arousal, because your fight or flight, it's going to kick in when you get under there and the lights are on you. You get under the squat bar, right? Because that's the first one, right? So you get under that squat bar. So how you perform could be a multitude of different reasons. But it sounds like you just learned how to just relax, get your openers, and enjoy it. And maybe it's too much assistance work going in. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Any other things that you felt?
There's some additional stuff, but I don't know how helpful that's going to be to anybody.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. If you want to talk later, we can. Have a little Dr. Phil moment, all right? Actually, here than there.
I got 2 questions. Could you go back 2 slides?
Yeah. Here?
Yeah. So for people who just started writing their program, what would you say is the biggest mistakes you see people make?
Trying to like I did with that other slide, the Batman slide, do too much too soon. If you're competing in powerlifting, squat, bench, and deadlift, work on those 3 movements on 3 different days, and just work a lot of reps of those, and then fill in some easy assistance work. Just take it really slow. Figure out what some general numbers are. So find out, okay, I know I can do this for 5 reps. I'm gonna do a 5 rep max off a calculator or that chart, work some numbers, and then just say, okay, week 1, I'm gonna do this 65% at 5 sets of 5. Week 2, I'm gonna do 5 sets of 5 at 70%. Week 3, I'm gonna do 5 sets of 5 at 80%. reassess your numbers, but just because your numbers go up, don't say, okay, they're at 100 pounds, I'm gonna go 150. Maybe let's be conservative, go 120, 125 at the most, 115, and then start back over. Reassess, reevaluate, just work on your 3 movements. As you start to train, my hamstrings are really bad, my mobility is really bad, my heels come up, so I have poor dorsiflexion in my ankles, so I need to work mobility in my ankles. My knees buckle, my weak external, then you can start to see what's wrong. If you have problems, technical problems, don't all of a sudden, oh, I gotta go and do this to fix it. You do, but don't do it in the very beginning. Figure out how to fix it. Just think knees out, maybe your squat with your toes forward too much, and all you need to do is point your toes out to get your hips down in here and push your knees out more. So just work on the movements, find out what your deficiencies are, then fill in your deficiencies with corrective work or assistant work. But just start off, it's always easier to add like your minimum effective dose. Start out slow, then build from there. And then as you start to get going, then that's when you get in the chains, the bands, the boxes, all this crap, right? Yeah, just start out slow.
Okay. And the other one was, what do you think is like an underrated aspect when it comes to training? Something that everybody should do or do more of?
Oh man, you know, I hate to say it's a psychological thing, but sometimes it's just like, get fucking tough, man, and just grind, you know, just work hard, just don't kill yourself, but work hard. And a lot of consistency, like just, you know, you're digging, right? The moment you stop digging is the moment you're gonna break through. Just dig more. Just